Hi, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending upon where in the world you are. I am Diana Kokora, CEO of PartnerPath, and welcome to Technology Channel Videocast. With me this week, I've got Carol Neslin on the other coast. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Good. How's Boston?
Boston's good. It's sunny and humid, just like you would expect.
Yes, it's Boston in the summertime. Yay.
That's right.
So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the summer education series that you put on for the last month, and just a little bit about kind of what the courses were around leadership, why you did this, what the takeaway was. So let me just start with what inspired you to create this whole idea of a summer leadership executive coaching course.
Well, a couple things. One, when I first joined the team at PartnerPath and we did the 5 ways to be a better boss webinar, we got such incredible feedback on that in terms of people really wanting information on how to be a better leader, not just how to be a better channel person, that we decided that it would be interesting to take some of those topics that people seem most interested in and do a larger session on them. And in particular, we chose 4 specific ones that a lot of people kind of struggle with a little bit. One is, how do you be a good communicator? Another one is, how do you give good feedback to people? Because as a leader, or even as an individual contributor, you need to know how to do that. We talked about, what do you do if you're a leader and somebody isn't making the grade on your team? And finally, a favorite for many people, or maybe not a favorite, is politics and how to handle office politics. And those 4 things are things that frequently get in the way of really capable channel leaders implementing successful programs. And we spend so much time helping people understand how to be better marketers, or how to be better sellers, or how to understand and deploy the products that they represent. But we don't spend a lot of time helping people understand how to actually do their job better from a leadership and a people perspective. And so that's a gap that you and I have been talking about for years. And how do we add that to the puzzle so people can actually have their great skills, their great ability to execute, and then also be good leaders so that they can get others to buy into their ideas. So that's kind of what inspired it. Feedback from the session that we did, and then also just knowing, both from my own personal experience and then also from seeing many of our clients, that it's a real need out there to help people be able to be better leaders so that they can get buy-in to their ideas.
Right, we teach them how to write partner programs and models and frameworks and structures, but we don't. But now we're also helping them get those ideas and the cross and rally an organization and a team around them. So I love it. It's great. So
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Many of the same people attended the 4 sessions, as well as the 2 office hours that you had. So love the idea of being available for office hours, have individual questions. What were 2 maybe themes or 2 questions that you saw that the group came to you with?
One thing, it was the office politics session, the last one, which is how to use your influence and your power productively inside an organization. And I started off by talking about people who say, "Oh, I don't play politics," or "Oh, politics are important. I just keep my head down and I do my job." One of the interesting things is we got a fair amount of feedback from people that they recognize that they were one of those people who have been trying to pretend that what's happening around them in their company or with their partners or with their customers doesn't really matter. And they realized, as we talked through the different things that are important around using your influence productively, they recognized that they needed to, if you play the game, if you will, a little bit more effectively and understand what's happening, and that by putting their head in the sand about it, they were actually potentially not getting their programs launched or getting people to buy in, those sorts of things. So that was one piece of feedback, which was, wow, I didn't realize that I was one of those people who was kind of putting my head in the sand about how to get people to buy into my ideas and how to get things accomplished in an organization. So that was one.
Interesting that politics always seems to be a dirty word, right? That we don't play politics, but you can also think of it that this is going on, right? And how are you politicking for your ideas? Or, I mean, if you think about what's going on in politics for us as a nation right now, right? How are you using using your how are you using your influence, or truly, in the grander sense of it, politicking for your ideas and interests, and to get your point across correctly.
Yeah, and I think the word politics freaks people out a little bit because they think of the national stage and what happens, and that people who are quote unquote political are only interested in it for themselves. They're not doing it for the betterment of the organization or the betterment of society, whatever. But actually, we all try to influence people. I do it, you do it, we all do it. Anybody who has not told somebody something important when they're in a bad mood so that they would get the reaction that they're looking for is being political, is trying to influence somebody's reaction. Anyone who has tried to get somebody to sign off on something when they're in a hurry and they won't look at it is trying to influence the situation. So it's how you think about it. And if you're doing it for destructive reasons, that is a problem. And good leaders don't use their political influence and power disruptively. They use it productively to help their team. And that's what we've spent a lot of time talking about. So
for good, not for evil.
That's right.
That was point one. Is there another one?
Yeah, the other thing is I think people were really responsive in the feedback session, talking about how they realize that the feedback that they give to people isn't frequent enough and isn't specific enough. And so we talked about a feedback model where you're focused on identifying for the person exactly what happened, exactly what the consequence of that was, and what your reaction to it was. So you're owning it personally, and then helping them understand and engaging with them about what they could do differently. And I think a lot of people have received and recognized that they give feedback that's too general and frequently only negative. And so I think that there was some discussion and some insight on that front, that you don't just tell somebody you blew it and walk out of the room. You help them understand what happened and how they can be better. And you also publicly praise people when they do things right and tell them what they did right. You don't just say, that was awesome, and walk away.
Awesome.
You want to tell them, yeah, you want to tell them like what was awesome about what they did, because you want them to be able to repeat that. So I think those are the two things, the politics and then and giving feedback.
Yes, truthful, specific, and positive, TSP that we used to call it, right? How do you TSP people and make it really specific to that, not that they were awesome, but what they did was awesome.
Yeah.
So from all your conversations, what did you learn from your conversations with the attendees?
I think one thing that was certainly reinforced from talking to people is that there is a big need for what I would call professional development and coaching around things that aren't specific functional skills. I think everyone feels like they get a lot of information that's specific to how to write a better marketing program, how to write do a good channel press release, that kind of thing. And that there's a real hunger for this kind of information about how to actually be a better professional, a better leader. So that was one thing. It reinforced that idea that there actually is a fair amount of interest out there. And I also realized from talking to people that the examples, being able to give people examples is really important so that they can understand how to apply the concepts, because I think people get a lot of general advice and they don't get very specific information about, hey, in this situation, this is how you would apply what we're talking about. So I think those two things, huge need for it, and a huge need for helping people with really specific concrete examples that they can think about relative to their own environment.
And if any of you missed it and are interested, of course, so we recorded all 4 of the sessions. And even though the office hours weren't available, I'm sure Carol would make herself available for conversations. But so if you guys are interested, all 4 of the webinars or the initial discussions on the topics are available for download off of the website. Carol, it was great summer education series. I learned a lot. I think certainly the audience learned a lot. I saw a lot of great questions come in. So thank you for recapping with me today.
You bet. Have a good weekend and good luck in your races.
Thank you. Enjoy Boston.